I spent the first 20 minutes going through buying questions because there was two people on the call, and I was like, I need to ask some questions because I know we've only got 5 minutes left.
Yep.
In this episode, we break down the one skill that wins or loses deals and why most salespeople are still getting it wrong.
I'm sorry, but I don't believe in your whys because I feel like I'm being interrogated when I'm being asked why questions. I get my back up. I get a little defensive. If you look at your qualification and you don't ask them something about the past, go back and change it now.
If you're in sales and your discovery calls feel like interrogations rather than conversations, this episode is for you. Welcome to the Revenue Leaders Podcast.
So Dave, I was at a LinkedIn event last night in Sydney, flew back late last night for this podcast.
We feel special now.
Yeah. Louis couldn't even be bothered showing up.
I know, where is he? It was like an empty chair here. Oh, you know why? It's his fifth Botox session. So he's got to keep
he's got to make sure that it's working well. So
for those that don't know, he's quite an old, right? Even though he does maintain himself, but he's like a bit of a car. He needs like an oil check every year.
It was his 65th birthday last week.
He gets a pensioner's card now. He gets good parking. This is great.
He's gonna love the intro to this one. But so I was at this event last night, and they were talking about the human skills that you need during this time of AI disruption. And I was reflecting on the way back, like what some of those skills are. One that really lands with me is the power of questions. And so I thought today we could kind of break this down if you're happy with that.
Look, I love questions. I get 4,000 of them thrown at me before 8 a.m. by my youngest daughter. But it's a skill that we have. Doesn't matter if it's sales, right? Like it's in anything in life. The power to ask the right question can help get you the answer that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And the reverse, if you ask the wrong questions, can make you lose the deal, can push the thing away, whatever you're trying to achieve. So it's one of probably the biggest and most underrated skills, I reckon, that are out there.
Oh, 100%. So if we were to put this down to the difference between a really good question and one that actually doesn't help you win a deal, what do you think the difference is?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
It's very meta. I guess it varies. Look, I was on the receiving end of a sales call the other day, and was by someone who's very experienced, very well accomplished, and he's now moved on from the company that he had exited from and found another. And we're looking at it for Coach Pilot to use it for one of our things. And the questions he was asking me were just questions that were 10 years ago. If something doesn't change in this space in the next 6 months, where are you? And I'm like, dude, you're talking to not just a salesperson, but people have been using those questioning methods for so long now that it feels like I'm going through a sales process, which it is, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to qualify me, you're building your business case. There are different ways to ask that type of question. You can ask it, for this particular scenario, it was a question, we're using it for a billing platform type thing. And it was, if you don't change from now in the next 6 months, what's going to happen? And my thing was, well, nothing really. I'm just planning for future. So I'm looking at this from a different perspective. I want to be a bit early for it.
Yeah.
But then the next question after that was another short-term question, which was I just gave you the answer here. I'm thinking long-term, so let's stay on that track.
So that's a bit odd, right? So what I'm hearing is it was clinical. Almost to the point where he was just going through the motions.
Yeah, ask me. I jumped on the call because I wanted to know some technical things about I'm sold on the value. I like it. What level of effort does it need from the engineering team to make this shit work, right? So I just wanted to ask technical questions. But I spent the first 20 minutes going through buying questions to the point where I'm because there was two people on the call, and I was like, I need to ask some questions because I know we've only got 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
And it's the question that would have opened everything up for me, Dave, what do you want to get out of this phone? What do you want to get out of this call?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
we've got 20 minutes all together. I've got my head of tech and me as the founder. What do you need? And I would have just gone from, thank you. This is what I need, right? I need to understand X.
So this is a really interesting thing as well, right? Because with buyers today, they have access to so much more information. They do a significant amount of research first, that we have our set questions that we ask as a seller. But realistically, there's probably a moment where we need to start looking at those and being like, okay, they've probably accessed their own research. That generally it's like almost 60% of time on a deal is spent researching, whether it's with you like online or, with your consultants, with your buying party. So really like the idea there to make sure that you're asking relevant questions when people actually get to that point, because a lot of, buyers today don't even want a seller involved. So we need to make sure that we're creating impact. So I guess from that, meet buyers where they are on their own research, and just by asking and opening with a powerful question like, what do you want to get out of today? What's motivated you to reach out today? Those sort of questions, to just let them answer.
Yeah, like you think about how you would have done research for yourself in the past. Let's just call it 18 months ago. Probably would take you half an hour, 45 minutes. Before that, it was even longer because you do manual Google searching. Now you just ask Claude, whatever tool you're using, to go and do the research for you and present you the key points. So it's now reduced down to seconds, right? A couple minutes at most.
Yeah.
I was doing it the other day for the Whoop Band. I was looking at the Whoop Band, and then I saw this other thing, Panther, and I'm like, you know what? I just gave the product URLs, and then I said, go research pricing, reviews, Reddit, everywhere, and try and tell me which one's the worst, right? And otherwise, I would have gone down a rabbit hole and spent an hour. I got the response back in like 2 minutes.
Well, I could always recommend one to you because I'm always a big fan of Whoop as
That's
well.
it. But like you think about people are doing it for us, right?
Yeah.
If I'm going to evaluate signing up to Coach Pilot, all I have to do is plug in the URL into Claude and say, find me other versions like this and tell me why I should look at this versus others.
Yeah,
Or even go and search for pricing for me, even if pricing's hidden. Because like I did this the other day, even though pricing is hidden and sellers want you to jump on a call, if someone's put that pricing inside of Reddit or something like that, the chatbot, the LLM finds it
absolutely
and brings it up to you, right? So it's one of those things now, take the assumption that they've done a good level of research. If not, you can ask the question, right?
Yeah.
And I'll be interested to ask you, Regs, how would you uncover on a call, like say you're selling to me, if I've done any research? Because it can be a little bit, I could be taken back by how you asked that, right? Because we spoke about this, about the right way to ask a question. And just by replacing one word can look like you're interrogating me versus, me leaning in and giving you more information.
Oh, okay. This is awesome. I love this part of the conversation.
Just done a good setup for you there.
Yeah, that was a great setup. Because if I came at you, Dave, and was like, Dave, why were you researching Whoop? Why were you researching its competitors? Why were you doing this? And I'm sorry, Simon Sinek, but I don't believe in your whys because they
It's
come
his
across
fault.
as
He came out with this book, Why, and everyone's just going, oh, why?
Yeah. But I feel like I'm being interrogated when I'm asking, like I'm being asked why questions. And I also feel like I'm getting buyers off on the wrong foot if I'm asking why questions. I've been on the receiving end of that. I get my back up. I get a little defensive and I don't want to put other people in that position. So the start of a question I think is very, very important. I like to swap them out with more your trigger verbs. So describe, can you explain, things like that actually give permission or to really deep dive into something. The reason why I think, we have to look away from that clinical checklist of questions of qualification and actually overlay a level of curiosity like your daughter is the fact that you need to be able to extend a buyer's thinking outside of what they've researched. Like I think we have a true power to really separate us in Coach Pilot versus our competitors, because if organizations are looking at this, they obviously have problems or they have things that they want to solve in their organization. And if they've done the research, yes, they can have a comparison checklist of all the features. I want to know a deeper understanding of the whys or like what they do want to get out of today, outline your motivation for reaching out, those sort of things, to be able to connect with them on a level that no one else has yet, to be able to connect with their problem. But then also curious questions make them actually stop and think like, oh, I've done all this research, but I have not considered that aspect of the buying process or how that's going to have a flow-on effect within my organization. So curiosity tends to step away from this checkbox and then also then make the person on the receiving end be like, oh, I haven't thought of that.
Yeah.
And I think that is the real difference in any sales process.
Pardon the interruption. I'm Luigi, one of the co-hosts here at Revenue Leaders. You'll notice we don't run sponsors or ads on Revenue Leaders.
This show is free. Our goal is to help you grow revenue and build your sales system that you can rely on. We do have a favour to ask though.
If this episode gives you one clear idea that you can use, do these two things. First, share it with one person, a founder, a revenue leader, or a rep who wants to grow their business. Just one. That's how the show grows.
Second, grab free access to our vault over at coachpilot.com/vault. Inside, you'll get the frameworks, templates, and short courses we use with clients to help them scale pipeline and increase win rates.
So the deal is simple. If you get value, share the episode with one person and go to coachpilot.com/vault to get the tools to put this into action. All right, let's get back to it.
100%. Like just asking a simple question of, walk me through your day, like when you're doing X. Like for us, I used this question the other day was walk me through how you, target an account and, how would you, if you're successful, what's the process from getting to close one? Walk me through the step-by-steps, right? That sort of one sentence there opens them up to now you're going to do a crap load of talking saying, well, I do this, we look for this, then we reach out, then we book a meeting, rather than me going, okay, so how do you reach out to people?
Yeah.
Do you use a CRM? Do you log this? What's CRM? Because the open question now then says, then we create a deal and then we log that in our CRM and they're like, oh, cool. What CRM is it? HubSpot. Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Right.
And they generally also be like, oh, and this part's annoying because
That's
this
right.
part takes long. So it's like, okay, great. We know that there's time spent here.
That's it. And
They'll,
then you
they'll
can
put their
pull the
emotion.
threads from. That's right. Then you can pull the threads a little bit and okay, it sounds like it's just you making these decisions or you need to push it up to someone else.
Yeah.
It seems like one of the questions or one of the statements that came from a call I had was, our conversion rate is really low. And then I just asked, why do you think that is? How have you come to that sort of, conclusion? And they're like, well, we send out a price and then we don't hear back. And then it's like, okay, cool. Well, we've heard a lot about this from others similar in your position. And this is usually what, they tell us, right? So given some guidance and
Yes,
some
that insight. Yeah.
And then, getting them to respond, yes or no. And if it's a yes, cool, tell me more. And opening up for a bit more of a discussion.
Engagement.
Yeah. Like you're going out for coffee rather than tell me this because I need to check this off. And then, okay, now I'm going to do my discovery and spit it back to you.
Yeah. In the half an hour that we've allocated for this, by the way, I'm going to slot in a demo at the end too.
Yeah, that's right. And show you everything.
Yeah. I think the other piece to this is as well, and I love this separation of questions is into three categories: past-based questions, current-based questions, and future-based questions. The reason why I love to focus on past-based, and honestly, if you look at your qualification and you don't ask them something about the past, go back and change it now, because past-based questions, if you do them right, you should know how they make decisions going forward. So, have you ever looked into this in the past and walk me through what that process looked like? And they're already being like, okay, yeah, we looked at it a few years ago. It fell down because of budget. We forgot to engage the CTO and the CFO as a part of it. This is what we'll need to do this time. So it's like, great, we know what the blockers were. We know what the process is. We know how to fix it next time. So those past-based really paint a picture of what is going to come next. And I think that is something that we generally tend to miss in our qualification process.
I love that, Rex. And look, sort of one thing that comes to mind is, and a question that we get a lot is, can you over-question a buyer, right? Because the answer, I'm just going to answer that now. Like, yes, you can, ask too many questions. So that comes back probably to an earlier point of asking the right questions, right? So how do you, I believe that people themselves being the question asker know that they're asking too many questions. In that situation there, because I think more people find themselves in that and then having to think on their feet on, shit, what do I ask next to give me a better answer or whatnot. But how do you deal with that I'm asking too many questions syndrome?
I think don't have a huge list in front of you for starters. I generally tend to keep it as like 5 questions as a part of a conversation, and then have the opportunity and space for drill downs. Because you don't know where, you can assume where conversations are going to go, but you don't know where they're going to go. You're going to deal with a lot of different personalities, some that are closed off, that take a little while to warm up. Some, if you were to ask me a question, I don't shut up, mate, right? So, if you've got those list of questions, just a few, you ask the past base, you understand where they're coming from, what their motivation is going forward, and then give yourself space to ask drill down questions as well. So, and this means that if you're in the moment without a full list, right, you can actually just genuinely have time for active listening, because there's one thing to ask the question, give yourself space to listen, because if they come back and they haven't given you as much detail as you want, or you think, like you said before, about the thread, there's an opportunity there to do a drill down. So what I mean by a drill down is if you've given an outline of something, say, for example, you're looking at that billing process and you're looking to have some technical questions on that, like I would then be asking you, like you're already at the technical side, like, so talk me through the research that you've done so far. And then you'll tell me, and it's like, okay, what are your gaps in that research? What else do you need to know to get the most out of today? So then I know 2 layers of information, what you've done and what else you need. So to be able to like have those drill downs, I think are really important. But again, like I said, you need the space for it.
Yeah. No, look, we've covered a crap ton of questioning in the questions episode today. I've got a call today, right? What would be the one question that you would say, David, you must ask this question if, I'm trying to sell someone anything. All right? What is that magical golden egg, goose, whatever I'm trying to say question?
I have 2, one at the start and one at the end.
Oh, okay.
First one is, what's motivated you to look at this, or like what's motivated you to reach out today?
That's a Louis special.
That's a Louis special. Kudos to him. I will give him a compliment on this one. The second one that I love is if you know that your buyer or potential buyer is exploring either your platform and a few others, I generally say like something along the lines of, we've covered off a lot today, but tell me, like, typically our next steps are X, Y, Z. To make this be worth your while, what else do you need to see, or what's going to make your life easier? Because the reason I ask it like that, it's a personal question, and they're like, everyone's an emotional buyer. There's something in it for them. And so open like that, you can go from having a half an hour meeting to an hour meeting just based off that one question. So I would always close it out like that.